welcome back to the interview segment. Our topic for today is FIRS waives penalties for the taxpayers. And to discuss this, I'm here with Mr. Wale Joshua. Good morning, Mr. Wale Joshua.
Good morning, and nice having me today.
Good to have you back, Mr. Joshua. So the FIRS waives penalties for taxpayers. That's good news, right?
That's good news. That's good news.
To what extent?
It's a good news to taxpayers because you have more monies to run your business and more money to spend on capital growth. Then more money to retain as your profit. So we have that. Then on the part of the government, it's a way of giving to the citizens in the sense that what ought to have accrued to them is going back to the citizens. So we have a balance between these two sides. The first side is the government, which is the macroeconomics, giving back to the microeconomics. Whether we like it or not, the macro and micro plays within the Nigerian system, and they stays in Nigerian system. So whatever effect will be a benefit to Nigerian system, not to any other government or any other nation. So I believe that it's a way of incentivizing the economy to growth. So the best way to go is that for now.
To waive the tax penalties.
Yes. Why keeping huge debt when you know that it's not convenient for your debtors to pay? Let's waive a little, incentivize payment, receive the bulk of your payment, and everybody will go win-win.
Maybe we should do that with the World Bank and the IMF. That's a good idea.
It has its own terms and conditions.
Okay.
For us to get a waiver like that from multilateral and bilateral organizations, it has some conditions.
Even for this, there are conditions.
Yes,
for this particular one.
Yes.
Okay, so how much do they intend to achieve? Do they intend to generate with this concession?
Well, it's until at the end of the process that you get the actual amount. But as targeted, I believe that we are targeting increasing the tax to GDP ratio by at least 5%, I think.
Okay, so if the taxpayers, a good percentage of the taxpayers able to pay the penalties, that's the principal, are able to pay the principal, how would that affect the economy?
Well, it is the rights and responsibilities of citizens to pay their tax. That's why government is not waiving that part. It's their responsibilities. But government owns the penalties. It owns the interest. So it's only waiving its own part of what should accrue to her as the regulator, as the government. So what we are looking at is it will improve one collectivity. It will reduce the costs of collecting taxes, because the cost of running after taxpayers to pay their liabilities is equally enormous. And if we can incentivize it, it will reduce it. To compare the loss, I mean what we are giving up by not collecting tax and penalties, and we compare it with the cost of collecting these taxes and the rates, the rate at which we collect it, I believe that Nigeria will be better off it.
Okay, so the last time the FIRS waived penalties for taxpayers was during the COVID pandemic.
COVID-19.
So that's a worldwide problem at that time, and everybody was finding it difficult to actually cope in every economy, or almost every economy.
Yes.
And this particular time, it's just they are just waiving it. So does that mean they don't have a rule that's in the rules and regulations? Do they not have it that it must be in times of problems that we waive the penalties? Because the penalties and the principal, they're all going to the country's revenue. So for the fact that they could just decide, we're just forgiving you guys today, and next tomorrow we're forgiving you again, don't you think is there no rule in their book to talk about that?
There is a guide to that, and waiving of penalties and interests is the prerogative of the president through the Minister of Finance. So it's a political decision, not administrative decision. So even if the chairman decides to waive penalties and interest as of today, I believe that the law says that the approval of the minister should be gotten. That's number one. So it's political decision which depends on the mood of the country. I believe that without preempting the activities of the government, I believe that we are looking at the coming year, I mean the year 2024, and we are looking at introducing some tax reforms. We are looking at introducing probably another finance act. So if you are looking at that, the effect may be in a way that if it impacts on the previous debt, it will be unjust in that manner. So why not incentivize the payment, let people pay, then look at starting afresh by next year. Let the effect of the tax policies, let it start rolling out. So that, I believe, may be what is shaping government decisions for today. Apart from that, we have a lot of economic policy effects that small businesses and businesses within Nigeria are facing. So in order to at least cushion this effect, the government might have thought it deem it fit to remove the interest and penalties and allow businesses to thrive in this harsh economy. So it's a good one from the government that they feel the pulse of the nation and they try bringing a cushion to that effect for businesses. You agree that during COVID-19 businesses slowed down.
True.
And during this period, inflation rate is on the increase. The dollar rate, the naira to dollar, the exchange rate is on the increase, and many other things. We floated our exchange rates, and we carrying out many that have direct impact on the business environment. So we should look at incentivizing the shock, then while continuing later with the economic realities. And don't forget that we have some other loopholes that were being blocked. The other loopholes that mimic corruption of mismanagement, which will be blocked by this current regime. So I believe that it's good to do this, then allowing a fresh grant by starting from 2024 for all economic and tax policies for businesses to face the realities of this current economic trend.
Okay, you're talking about, Mr. Joshua, talking about the tax policies and yes, and the finance policies and reforms. Do you think there is a plan to probably reduce the tax, that's the VAT, and withholding taxes?
I don't see that. What I'm seeing is a stratified tax rates. A stratified tax rate in the sense that ostentatious lifestyle may be taxed higher. Okay. Large businesses may be taxed higher, while the small businesses will pay reduced taxes. Okay. We are looking at reforms that will enable small scale businesses to thrive, while taxing the bigger companies better than the smaller ones. And we are looking at other commodities, which has to do with mining, which has to do with blue economy, which has to do with a lot of reforms that this government is looking at. We can't just have more than 48 ministers for fun. We are looking at channeling their energies to a direction which is environment, and bringing the returns back to Nigerians who are the shareholders of this country.
Okay, so I want to ask you, what triggers the taxpayers to pay a penalty? What exactly triggers them?
Well,
knowing for the fact that if it piles up, it's still on you? It's
still on you. We have two things. We have two things, and the third. The first one is that tax management and tax evasion. We have tax avoidance and tax evasion. If you are avoiding your taxes and you are caught within the web of avoidance, you may want to pay additional interest and penalties. You're going to avoid a particular part of your tax variables. When that variable is rejected, you pay interest and penalties on that. That's number one. Number two is tax evasion. You are running away from your tax payments. If you are caught doing that, you pay interest and penalties for that. So that's the first two stages. The other stage which I want to bring up is that penalties and interests come as a result of two things. In Nigeria, we have self-assessment. You are allowed to self-assess yourself, present it to the tax authorities, and tax authorities will accept it. Then go back, review your documents, and come back to you to say maybe you've underpaid or you've overpaid. So at that point, you have interests and penalties accruing. Why I brought you for over 3 years and they suddenly assessed you at the end of the third year, that will be a factor in determining your interests and penalties. Okay. So while you use the best parameters you think is available to use to lag between when you think you've paid your correct tax and when the tax authority discovered that you've not paid the correct, so we have that time lag. We are looking at, because if you have to keep me for 3 years before discovering that I didn't pay right, I believe that I should enjoy my right of self-assessment till that 3 years, till that 3 years, and when you discover that I didn't pay right, then you can place interest and penalties starting from there, not starting as at when I filed my self-assessment. Okay. That is what the law gave me the power to do.
Okay, so you could decide to not pay because you have not been in the system of the FIRS.
No, that's avoidance. It's of entities to pay tax. I chose entity because you have company and individual. It's the responsibility of entities to pay tax. When you have the responsibility to pay tax, find out what tax you are going to pay as an individual, as a company, and go and pay right. It's your responsibilities. So when exercising these responsibilities, you pay the best of taxes, you pay right, and then you leave the rest to the government authority. It's not running away from tax is a crime, is a criminal act.
So to what extent can you say this would affect the entities, let's call them that?
Well, the effect on the company or the entity is cash flow leakage. When you are trying to generate your resources, when you are trying to generate your revenue, always know that preventing your expenses is equally a way of generating a revenue. Because if you can prevent your expenses to an extent, you'll be able to save whatever revenue you keep. So it will take effect on the company if you don't pay, if you are going to pay interest and penalties. Currently, the interest and penalties are very high that it may be painful while paying that, because you've paid for nothing, only for the time difference and naira, the effect of holding the payment, delaying the payment, or not paying right. So that's what you are paying for. Not that you are paying for any tax, not that you are paying for tax on profit, education tax, or many other things, many other taxes that you ought to pay for. You are only paying for the gaps in your tax management. So why doing that? So it's better you plan your tax.
Okay, so from the entity's point of view, that's the taxpayers, what challenges could they be facing to have accumulated a very large amount of penalties that the government is thinking of, has actually forgiven them?
You are talking about reasons why they don't want to pay. We have a lot of reasons. Okay. The typical reasons for not paying taxes or allowing interest and penalties to accrue is that, what is government doing for me? I do my borehole, government will not provide water for me. I do my electricity, I do my solar system, government will not provide good electricity for me. I provide my security for myself. So it's all this what ordinarily your tax payments should have provided for you, which you are in turn provide. You are doing it for yourself. So the morals to pay would not be there as a Nigerian. So those are that's one critical factor which is tenable. Irrespective of that, you have to pay your tax. So running away from tax, some people just enjoy, they believe that they are above the law. Above the law in the sense that if I don't pay, who will arrest me? Yes, nobody will beat me and nobody will know. Some people are just like, okay, let me beat the system. In as much as I'm not being caught in the act, at least I'm better off it. So that's another set of group. Another group will believe that, okay, let me hold this money and do my business with the money. So that's why government came up with the idea of, okay, fine, why you hold this part of our money in doing business? Why not pay interest on it? So that's number one. That's another point. Another point is that most businesses doesn't know variables to compute in tax. When I mean variable, revenue subjected to taxes and expenses subjected to taxes, most especially the withholding tax element of the taxation. The government needs to redefine and make sure the ambiguity in withholding tax, especially where it comes to contracts, are well spelled out. So withholding taxes, ambiguity in tax law should equally be removed. So ambiguity in tax law will bring uncertainty in what you should declare as your revenue, uncertainty in what you should declare as your expenses. We bring it in, exposing taxpayers to interest and penalties. Because if I don't know, if I'm ignorant of a particular section of the law, that doesn't mean that I will be let go of the implication of the law. Ignorance is not an excuse. So where ignorance is not an excuse, then penalty and interest may accrue. So we commend the FIRS for the rate at which they conduct tax education, but more still needs to be done on platforms like this and many other platforms where people can listen and adapt to and adopt that.
Okay, we'll go on a short break, get a drink of water. We'll be right back to talk about the FIRS concession. Do stay with us. Okay, so this is 80 minutes?
80 minutes, okay. So we still have...
Welcome back, Mr. Joshua. So you were talking about the taxpayers not knowing the variables. Do you think the FIRS could do some sensitization on that?
FIRS has been doing sensitizations on tax variables, but we still need to know reactions of people to payment of taxes. Reaction of people to payment of taxes may be as bad as, I don't want to pay. Even if you keep on running the jingle, we won't listen and we will not do anything on payment of taxes. So that's a class. Another class is, okay, when we're listening, I'm bothered with generating income for my company. I don't want to disturb myself with that. When it comes to the time, let me do the right thing. When it comes to that time, interest and penalties must have accrued. Like your filing of your VAT is monthly affairs. So if you wait till the end of the year when you want to collect your tax clearance, before you account for the variables, it becomes subjected to interest and penalties. So there are a lot of factors which cumulates to that. Yes, I listened to FIRS's jingle, but I'm not interested. So then FIRS needs to maybe up their games or maybe at the point of registration of companies, FIRS may want to introduce a kind of manual that you read and digest before you go into businesses. So we have a lot of factors that FIRS addition.
Okay, talking about desensitization, of they speak English on the television, and we that are here, we listen to, we understand.
Yeah.
But there are people in the villages. There are people selling as small as granite, pure water, making and packaging pure water to sell. And a lot of those people, I don't know, do they make it in languages that people at local level would listen to on the radio, that is, and understand? Because creating the awareness is not just for people that understand the English and the explanations, because there might be technical words in there. But people that are not really learned and know about that, it's like you're just listening to FIRS understanding of the language.
Honestly, they are.
Okay.
They are. The extent may not be as enormous as we expect, but they are. FIRS, as state internal revenue services are doing that, but it may not be as we expected. So we are looking at NGOs, we are looking at partnering with NGOs, partnering with many other informal sector, informal organizations within Nigeria to sensitize people. We have the traditional rulers, we have the local and religious rulers, we have the NGOs, we have many other informal and formal sectors where we can get to the citizens, and that can be used in sensitizing the population. Apart from that, I still want to talk about attitude of people to taxes. People may not want to pay tax. People may not want to pay tax. So I believe that most of us knows our responsibilities towards payment of taxes, towards making sure government businesses are run efficiently, but we don't want to pay. So we all know that we should pay tax.
We all do know that.
We all do, yes.
So how can taxpayers ensure compliance and take full advantage of the concession?
We have tax planning.
Within the period, because they have a deadline.
Within the period, which is less than 30 days, I believe companies should try find cash flows, because without money, nothing can be done. So that's just the say, and if you think you can be better off holding government money, payment of and then choose to pay interest and penalties over paying now and suffer a kind of cash flow pool, a weight on your cash flow register. I believe that it may be sensible to pay at this time, because you are saving 10% penalties apart from late filing penalties. If that is applicable, apart from late filing penalties, you are saving 10% penalties on the principal sum, and 1% on MPR, central bank's MPR interest rates, if you can pay. And this is going to as high as 30%. So why not as more than 30%? So why not pay? There is nowhere you can get 30% loan to finance your business. So why not pay now, instead of using that 30%, over 30% loan provided to you by the government in form of not payment of tax, the cash you save by not paying your tax. Mm-hmm. It's better you weigh the two together. You can't get a commercial bank rate at that particular interest rate. So why not pay? So when we place the two side by side, it's better you pay now than save the gains later.
So clearly the taxpayers should pay.
Yep.
But you talked about the FIRS awareness. This recent the decision to waive the penalties was very, very recent. We're already in December 4th.
Yep.
What exactly are the FIRS doing to sensitize and create awareness on this particular concession? Because they have a very limited time.
It has started already, because a circular has been printed to that effect. We are deliberating on it now, and I believe the FIRS will start rolling out the jingles very, very soon, most especially to companies that are owing significantly high, companies that are owing to the tunes of millions of naira, billions of naira. You can be reached out to. See, this window is opened. Can you pay the principal amount on your tax payables? Then you'll be better off it.
Okay, so let's talk about the taxpayers still. For people that are unable, even though you said some people just decide not to pay. For people that are unable, the FIRS gave the reason that people are finding it difficult, which means it's a financial problem. They're finding it difficult to pay up that. So for people that are unable to pay this particular time with the time frame they have to pay up the penalties for this particular one of concession, how would you think, if they're unable to meet up with the 31st of December, they would be able to pay it? Because the deadline is 31st of December, and if 31st December goes away, it's 1st of January 2024, it means that particular forgiveness or foregoing or whatever is no longer on the table. It's off the table. So now it's off the table. People that are finding it difficult to pay that would then have to pay more, because as the months roll out, the tax accrues and all of that. So how would they be able to pay more? Because as at now, they're unable to pay this, and then next year it's going to be more. So how realistic is that? Because the FIRS is stating and restating 31st.
Well, FIRS cannot be pushing the dates further. Whether they push it further after the expiration of this period or not, the expiry date for the interest and penalties waiver will come. So there are other measures within the tax law. So the taxpayer, as of that period, will search through the law, browse through the law, and see what options are available for settlement of these taxes. When the interest and penalties have been established, you may not have the luxury of reconciling or further explaining your way out of whether to pay or not. So if the interest and penalties have been established, you have one other options of payments on instrumental basis. We have 6 installments, which should not be more than that year of application and approval. If you are applying this year, it should not be more than 31st December. If you are applying next year, it will not be more than 31st December 2024. So you have to pay in 6 installments, and you take benefit of that. That can save the cash flow problem. But for this waiver, the instrumental payment option is not on the table.
So for my people that are saying, let 31st come, we'll see what will happen, what you have to say to them? Those are the people that really do not want to pay, because the government is not providing me this and that.
Well, in that case, I really don't advise people to subject their own faith into the decision of another. So as far as this window is opened, why not take advantage of whatever it presents, and not leaving the fate to whether the period will be extended or whether I will escape this outrightly. If you are to escape it outrightly, you will have escaped it before this period. So why not kukuma pay? So when you register your company and you are making your profits, know that government is a shareholder and they have 30% share in your company. So
automatically.
Yes, automatically. So when you are declaring profits at the end of the year, note that 30%, 20% or 0% goes to the government, depending on the size class of company you are. So government is a shareholder to your own company. So when you do businesses, just know it have it at the back of your mind that periodic payments are to be paid. We have transactional and we have profits. That's the corporate taxes. Transactional taxes are paid after 30 days. Transactional taxes are value-added tax, withholding taxes. So those are the taxes that you pay at the end of the month.
Okay, so that's it for the interview segment. We'll take a break. We'll come back for the business tidbit from Mr. Wale Joshua. Stay tuned. Welcome back. Mr. Wale Joshua, what do you have for us today?
Well, good morning once again. What I have for you today is the financing businesses. Okay. How do we finance our business? We have ways of financing our businesses, which one of it is equity financing, okay, where you call people to come and participate in what you do, while sharing profits on that, and that's encouraged by the Islamic banking. You call people to come and participate in your business, then you share business.
By participate, you mean yes, bringing capital.
Yes, bringing capital. Then you have financing from reserves. That means what you've made over the years, you can finance from that by disposing one or two things. Then we have financing through loans. We have financing through friends. You have friends of business. Friends to a business may be the director. A director can bring his own cash within. But when you bring your cash, make sure you record it as loan, because it's actually a loan to the company. You and your business are separate entities. So don't mingle the cash together. Don't mingle your own cash with business cash. Don't try that. It's against the corporate governance rule. Apart from that, you can do time loan. So where we are going to talk about here is getting time loan has its own consideration. Consideration in the sense that you have to look at what you are going to finance this loan with. If you are using a long-term loan to finance a short-term expenses, it doesn't really work well. And if you are using short-term loan to finance a long-term expenses, which may be assets or consumables, it's not really well. And we have what we call working capital. Working capital are best financed through the retained profit, the profits which the business generates, not through term loan. But when a company is being faced with difficulties, you can finance the working capital with your term loan. And what are the working capitals? We have the payment of creditors. We have the effect of giving out credit facilities or selling without collecting cash then we have the effect of buying your stock. So those are the working capital elements of your business. So financing it with term loan, you shy away from financing it with term loan. But when it comes to assets, when it comes to financing property, plants and equipment, and maybe how mortgage, you may consider term loan in financing that. So those are the finances we will be looking at. And in getting finance, in managing your loan, in managing your term loan, consider refinancing. If as an entity I've gotten a loan last year at interest of 30%, and this year I could get somebody who wants to offer me a loan for 18%, quickly take that loan, go and settle what you have as 30%, okay, and then before coming back. Then when you are stuck within loan issue, make sure, loan repayment issue, make sure you think yourself out of the box. Like you can rent, if you own your business premises, you can rent it out. You can rent it out, a portion out to people to come and use. If you have assets that you can rent out, you can quickly rent it out. You can generate businesses. You can diversify to pay that loan. It's not always good to accumulate interest. It affects your credit worthiness, what people consider before giving you further loan, and it affects even your operations. So getting loan is it has its own morals and practice. So when you are getting loan, have it at the back of your mind to get the right loan to finance your businesses and to get the best of the loan facility. And don't forget to save. When you save, you are better off. You stand a better chance of accessing time loan. When you save with informal sector, which is the cooperative, friends, family, adashi, you can you can access credit facilities very, very well. When you save with banks, this will be part of what they consider as your credit worthiness before giving you other loans. And make sure most of your revenue activities pass through your bank statement or pass through your records, because that will stand as what businesses will look at before you can take loans. And when you want to take loan, make sure you do a thorough analysis of your repayment plan. Don't take loans when you know you cannot repay. It may get you into a kind of mess. So financing businesses may be through loans and maybe through soft cash. How you get money, whether it's just in 4 ways, whether you work for it, whether you beg for it, whether you steal it, or whether you borrow it. So those are the 4 ways of getting money. So one of which I will not support that, but it's still a way of getting money, which you have to consider the morals. So when you beg, make sure you beg right, and you are not put into a moral servitude while begging for grants and gratifications. So those are the ways of funding your business. And when we look at funding businesses, we should consider equipment financing. Equipment financing, we have banks that run a good equipment financing, which has to do with industrial banks, which has to do with Bank of Agric, and which has to do mostly with Islamic banks. They give access to equipment funding very, very, very well. As much as you can justify your visibility report, your payment plan, and your credit worthiness stand with the bank, they grant you loans. But don't take loans for frivolous activities. Don't take business loan for personal use, and don't take personal loan for business use. Don't mingle your business finance together. Make sure you separate yourself as an entity, keep your record, and you'll be better off it. So we have that as business tips today.
The big thing is, do not mix your money with the business. If not, the calculations will not
tally.
Very true. Mr. Joshua, thank you very much for that insight. Good to have you. It's always good having you.
Nice thing.
That's it on business today, on Business Focus for today. I am Maria Adu Zakari. Do stay blessed.